Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay, and in this video I have a very special lens review coming for you. So this lens has like a dreamy look. It's got that like old school build to it. They used to make this lens like back in like the 1940s apparently, and TTArtisans decided to remake this lens. So it's like a modern version of this insane old school lens. And what it offers is this like swirly bokeh rendering, which is just unbelievably awesome. In addition to that, it's like sharp in the center, but it gets blurry as it goes out. It also has a little bit of a vignette as well. So what that means is it really gives you like extra 3D pop for subjects. So if for portraits, for example, or product photography, or anything you're trying to focus the eye to, this lens kind of draws you in, and it's so fun to use. So this lens is very affordable at only $270 US, considering how awesome the images come out and how good the build quality is on this lens. So check this thing out. So it's the TTArtisan's 75mm f1.5 swirly lens, and it's an M42 mount on the back here. Just to show you guys really quick. So this actually has a threaded mount here. You can see here. So what you need to use a lens like this is an adapter like this one. So this adapter goes for about $40. It's the K&F Concept. So it's an M42, you can see the threads there, to RF, to Canon RF mount. I'm actually using my Canon R5 Mark II for this review. So to mount this to the lens, all you gotta do is thread this on first, like so, like that, and now the adapter's on there. So now this will mount right up to the R5 Mark II. So it's got this really cool like metal lens cap, which I actually really like. It feels like premium. You got to be kind of careful taking it off, but it does like really lock down. Like when you have it on there, it's like there's no way it's going to fall off, which lens caps fall off all the time in my camera bag and stuff. It's one of those little things that kind of drives me crazy. But just take a look at this. It's got a really nice 58mm filter thread, and the build quality of this lens is phenomenal. You can see the focus right here. It feels very smooth and very well dampened. It actually takes a bit of effort to turn. Not too much though. It's not like hard to turn. Like it just has like really good dampening. So you can really dial in the focus when you need to. And it has a pretty long focus throw as well, as you could see here, how far it goes. So if we go, you can see how far that thing turns. So that's pretty cool. Also, it has a clicked aperture here, which also has very good dampening. Has really good dampening on this and a fairly soft click, but you can feel it and hear it. Like so. So this lens weighs in at about 590 grams or 20.8 ounces or 1.3 pounds. So it definitely has some beef to it, but that's because it has like really thick glass and it's that all metal aluminum build, which is really nice. And you know, sometimes I just like that. I love the metal build. It definitely comes with more weight, don't get me wrong, but that metal construction, it just feels so premium and so high quality. I absolutely love that. And what I mean by thick glass is if you look at this lens element chart here, you can see there's 6 elements in 4 groups, and just look how thick the glass is, like the individual glass elements. Now, the thick glass in like my mind, the way like I've been reviewing lenses for so many years, thick glass lenses are more old school style lenses, and they all seem to have softer corners and stuff like that, but they also offer like a more dreamy look. Like the background rendering just looks more pleasing to the eye compared to some of the more modern lenses. So if you're looking for something with like a special look, like a lens like this would be on the top of my list right now in 2024, especially when you factor in the cost of it. In addition to that, because it's fully manual, it forces you to slow down and like really like kind of focus on what you're doing. So you really feel like a photographer when you're using this. In my opinion, like autofocus lenses, you're just kind of pointing and shooting a little bit more like haphazardly, let's say. Not that you're not taking photos, don't get me wrong, but like this one, you really have to like focus, slow down, hold steady, you know, dial in the focus to make sure you got it just right. And then you take the shot, and it just like, it's just more satisfying in that way. So this lens also has 13 aperture blades in there, which gives you very nice round bokeh balls, as you will see as you stop it down. When you leave it wide open, they kind of do oval out around the edges, which creates this swirly effect. But when you stop down, it almost turns into like more of a normal background rendered look to some degree, as you'll see in the sample photos. The flaring on this lens is really cool. It has like a magical look to it. In addition, backlit subjects like really shine, again, because of that flaring. And it's hard to explain. It's just like the way the lens renders. It has like a diffused, glowy, like swirly look to it. So just incredible how this renders. So this adapter here goes for about $40, which isn't really too much. So you can get this whole package for approximately like $310 US. And again, like I'm saying, as far as like the look goes, something unique. This is killer for portraits and, you know, product photography even, as long as you don't need that razor sharp corner to corner result. Let me show you what it looks like mounted up to the R5 Mark II. This is my 135 L lens from back in the day. I actually sold it to a friend of mine, but I recently am borrowing it to use on the R5 because I don't have any RF lenses yet. So this is just going to mount up here. It's got the red dot on the top of the adapter right there. And then the lens mount on the Canon has the red dot as well. You can see right there. It's going to mount that up like so. Now we have this beast mounted, and that's what it looks like. You can see here that focus throw again, how much the lens actually comes out, and it's actually unscrewing now. I went too far. Put that back on there. Screw this all the way back, and I can actually tighten it up a little bit, like so. There we go. Now that won't loosen anymore. In addition, this lens also has screw holes here. So if you want to like zero out the lens, you can actually rotate this and make it so the screw is at like the top dead center here. If you want, there's like 3 screws you can loosen around, and then you can actually turn the lens to get it exactly where you want if you need to. I don't really care about that but like I said, if you want it like perfectly centered, it just depends on what camera you're mounting it to, what lens adapter you're using, and stuff like that. So that's what she looks like mounted up to the R5. Looks pretty cool, right? From the side angle here. Now it is a pretty heavy lens, so it does, you know, there's a little bit of front weight there, but with a camera like this, it doesn't really matter. It has such an awesome grip. It's super easy to use all around. In addition, I also use this on my Sony a7C II. I have another adapter for the Sony E-mount. So I use this lens on my a7C II for like the first like 2 or 3 weeks. Then I got the adapter for the Canon RF here, and then I used it for another couple of weeks. So I have a lot of sample photos to show you guys, and let's just get right into it. All right, so here we are in Adobe Lightroom, and this was actually, I was using the Sony a7C II for these shots, and took a couple of sample portraits just to really show you that swirly effect that you can get with, like, you know, if you have like a tunnel behind you, like a, you know, like a row of trees, for example, which is what is behind Jace here. And you can see just like that swirl, how cool it looks. So anyways, here's just a few portrait samples of Jace in the woods here. And Jace actually took a couple of me, so you can see what it looks like. Looks pretty darn cool if you ask me. Like I said, this is a special lens. Definitely great for portraits. This is more of a close-up shot. Here's another one. It's a little closer. When you're so close to the subject, it doesn't look quite as swirly as if you're just backed up a little further. This one I edited a little too much. You can see under the eyes I went a little too far. That's the edited, that's the unedited, see? Anyways, see, here's another example of my awesome tree root tripod. I'm loving this tripod, by the way. I'm still playing with it, but I'm going to review it soon. I'm just still getting the hang of it, but I really like it in case you guys are in the market for, honestly, one of the best tripods I've ever used. I'll have that linked below if you want to check it out. But anyways, look at the difference when I'm really close. It doesn't look as swirly. It looks just like a really buttery background. But if you back up a little bit, now you can really see that swirl coming in. Now here's just a look at a brick wall. It kind of shows you the render of this lens a little bit. You could see in the center area, it's pretty sharp. And in the corners here, you can see it's like soft, glowy. Has a little bit of distortion to it as well. And here's just one of a sign so you can see how the background renders. It's really interesting the way it looks. Here's another one. Check this out. Just looking at one of those little flag things that they have on top of a fire hydrant. And there's like buildings behind it that were lit up by the sun. And the way that this renders is just incredible. Like I said, it offers this magical, swirly look. Here's one with a car going by. Just look at the headlights. Here's just looking down an aisle at work. Now here's one, it's just a leaf. That's all it is, a leaf on the pavement, kind of looking into the sun. And just the way that this renders is unbelievable to me. You can see here, it's pretty sharp. I mean, it's not razor blade sharp. It's sharp in some spots here, but you can see how just blurry and, you know, dreamy, and, you know, just kind of like there's a little bit of fringing here that you can see. So this lens is not like optically flawless. It just offers this insane look. And you just can't get looks like this off regular lenses. Take a look at this one. They had this costume mask thing hanging on a tree here, and just look at how that renders. I mean, it looks just incredible. It really does. This would be really cool for recording video as well, like to get like a cool look if you're making like a little project, you know, some kind of film project.
Look up, boys. Good boy, buddy.
Now just looking at a bush, you could see how the background rendering falls off, and it just looks like it's hard to explain. It just has a look of its own. Now here's another one. So I went from f1.5 and I stopped it down. I think this is like f4, f5.6. I don't know because I wasn't taking note when I did this, but you can just see the difference here. So this is like wide open, stop down. Now this is stop down all the way to f8. And you can see even at f8, at the minimum focus distance here, the background render looks very cool. Here's just another one, looking at some weeds. And here's another one, just looking at this building here. I just wanted to show you the way the flare and the haze and all this like comes in, like the diffusion of light kind of spreads out and makes this like super dreamy look. Just looking down at the ground here, you can see what the pavement looks like. It's just a little puddle here from where cars park, I guess. And you can still see like the weird swirly effect. It just kind of draws your eye in. It's very interesting. Here's another one. I like the way that this looks. Just one of those, you know, meters for the change when you're parking. And again, just really cool 3D pop render. The way that these lights look in the corner is super cool, like the cat eye effect. I really like the way that it looks. Here's just a couple of snapshots. I stopped it down a little bit to like f4, f5.6 just to show you what you can do in just a regular street scene. And again, it looks very good in this scenario. It's like nice and sharp. You could see here, you know, this is like more of an accurate looking photo. Like I said, when you stop it down, it loses a little bit of that magic swirl look. So you can kind of get regular looks out of this lens as well, you know, sort of. It's definitely going to have a little distortion, a little softness in the corners still, but it still offers that very nice punchy contrast that thick glass seems to produce. Here's just one of a like park bench looking shot. Another one down the road here, and you can see just these posts in the foreground and this telephone pole, just how blurry it is. This gentleman was walking towards the pizza place or whatever. Here's one of Buddy in the woods here, and if I zoom in, you can see it's pretty darn sharp. Not crazy sharp, but good enough. Here's another one. Here's one where he's laying down, and you can see the swirl here. Now that I'm at a far enough distance, you can really see that swirly background. Check that out. Very, very cool. Here's another one. And this one I enhanced a little bit. So these are just raw files straight off the Canon. So they look flat. Just so you guys know, these are flat, unedited. So they're very flat. Once you edit it, you can punch it up to something like this. And this looks much better. But yeah, that's an edited. So now here's an example of that flare. At the right angle, in reference to the sun, you can get this really cool, sharp red flare out of this thing. And I really like the way that looks. Here's just one of those little pumpkins on my railing on my deck, and it just looks fantastic if you ask me. Now here's just a shot down at the this place called the Brew. I was getting some wings here and took a sample photo. So this one came out okay. It would have been better if I was facing a different direction, but there was just a lot of people in there. So take a look at this one, looking at the taps and the ceiling. And then this one I particularly like. They have these cool lights hanging from the ceiling with like this metal basket around it. And I just love the way like the tin ceiling reflects all the light, and it looks very cool. And I just stopped it down a little bit here with the exposure comp to show you a different look depending on what you're trying to render. So I thought that came out pretty good. Here's looking down at some weeds. This is what a landscape shot looks like. Now this is at f1.5, so it's not that sharp at all. But again, it just offers like this dreamy sort of look. Now this type of shot looks a little bit better in my opinion. I like the way it renders this way as opposed to just using it for a straight up landscape like this. Like this looks much better to me. So I would use a lens more for this sort of look as opposed to the previous, you know. But you can get away with it if you stop it down to like f8 or whatever. You can get a nice telephoto shot. Now here's one of my dad. We went down to visit the other day and they just moved to Pennsylvania and, you know, they're in their new place. They really are happy. And I just love the way that this shot came out. This is just a perfect capture of my dad, in my opinion. And here's just one of the family at the table. And again, you can see the counter here in the foreground, the way that it blurs out. And same thing over here, like my mom's hair is like really blurry. And just the center area, like pretty much where this beer is like very sharp. Everything else is kind of falling off. So it just like draws you in to whatever you have in focus. Here's just another one, my dad and the dog, Jasmine. You can see that just the contrast is really good on this lens in decent lighting. So just another one. Check out the TV in the background, how cool that looks. Isn't that awesome? So again, here's just one of Jace, and you can see the center area, how it just draws you in. Here's another one. I just put the table in the foreground there to add another layer. Here's some salad that we were enjoying for dinner. Some killer garlic bread. Now for those pixel peepers out there, I just wanted to show you what the lab scene looks like using this lens. So I went through the aperture range. So it goes from f1.5 all the way to f16, but it has little stops in between. So I just kind of went all the way through. So I don't really know exactly what aperture is what, except for the first one and the last one. The in between, it kind of is in between apertures sometimes. So anyways, let me just zoom in here so you can see. This is definitely at f1.5. And you can see I focused right here. So the center sharpness is very good, actually. But as you pull away, you could just see it starts to get really glowy. Very glowy and like dreamy over here. So that's where that look comes from. And you can see that curvature as well in the lights that are about 15 feet behind the lab scene here. So anyways, let me stop down and let me move this. I'll stop down and you can see how the render changes. You can see how the balls become more and more round. And it starts to look more like a regular lens as we stop down here. It's got a 13 blade aperture diaphragm, which really helps get these nice round bokeh balls here that you're looking at in the background. So that's all the way to f16. And then here's just one completely out of focus, just so you can see how it renders. All right, guys, so again, if you're looking for a different look, looking for some magic, looking to have some fun, you're getting kind of bored using your autofocus lenses, you're looking for a challenge, and you want to try to get some really special looking photos, I would highly recommend trying out the 75mm TTArtisan's swirly lens. It's a lot of fun. It's fully manual. You do have to adapt it with one of those adapters, but they're fairly affordable, you know. I would recommend getting a decent adapter though. The cheaper adapters just aren't as good. There'll be like a little bit of play, like where the lens mounts and stuff like that. So I would recommend at least getting like one like that, like I got. The K&F is a really, it's a good like in between. It's not the highest end model, but it's not the lowest end. It's just like a good one. So I would recommend that. And, you know, if you guys do have this lens, be sure to let me know in the comments below what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I absolutely love using this lens. And, hey, buddy, what's up? Coming to say hi? Hello. Hello, buddies. Yeah, you good boy. Aww. So in any event, I really hope you guys got what you were looking for in this quick lens review. And like I said, links below in the description area. I really appreciate the affiliate link support. And I will catch up with you next time. I got a really cool lens review coming out very soon. Stay tuned. All right, guys, take care. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see one of the best lenses I've ever used, be sure to check out this video right here.